How good it is that we are actually here in person together. We welcome you on Zoom, we welcome you on YouTube, but we welcome you all here in the courtyard of Temple B'nai Or. Chag Sameach. Here we are, it is Shavuot. I found this in a small book written in the 50s called A Guide for Reformed Jews. And it talks about the mitzvah of confirmation. It says, 1, confirmation services should be held on Shavuot morning or evening, the festival on which, according to tradition, Israel received the 10 Commandments at Sinai. Here we are, the evening of Shavuot. Our confirmands, our wonderful students will be reflecting on the 10 Commandments tonight. 2, one should not be confirmed before the age of 15, except in unusual circumstances. Here we are. We have our 15 and 16-year-olds. 3, the mitzvah of confirmation should not be automatically confirmed, but should be earned by fulfilling basic academic and religious requirements, such as the completion of a prescribed course of studies, attendance at religious services, and an awareness of the spiritual meaning of the covenant. I think we can give a check to that. We have had a year of study, of relating Torah to life as Americans, to life as striving for justice. And 4, at the confirmation service, the confirmands and their parents should lead the congregation in reciting the following lesson. I'm going to. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lekabel et haTorah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who has made us holy through the commandments, and commanded us to receive the Torah. This is the only place I've ever seen this blessing that was written here just for confirmation. That tonight, Shavuot, it's like the whole Jewish people is receiving the Torah again, but we're thinking especially about our confirmation students who are reconfirming their commitment to the Torah, as if they are standing at Sinai and receiving the Torah. So tonight, a night of Torah, a night where we receive this Torah, let's welcome in the festival of Torah, of the receiving of the Torah, with the lighting of our candles. Before the lighting of our candles, our first confirmand, Ryan Berman.
Hello, my name is Ryan Berman.
Can you stop for a second? Come closer so I can kind of measure. Is the microphone on?
Hello, my name is Ryan Berman. The second commandment in Jewish tradition says, "You shall have no other gods beside me. You shall not make for yourself any graven image, nor any manner of likeness of anything that is heaven above, or that is earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I, Lord your God, am a jealous God." While literally this is read to say, "You shall not worship false idols." As with all words from the Torah, there are deeper meanings that can be drawn. There are lessons to be taken from these biblical stories that can be applied to our current lives. This is one of the reasons Jews enjoy and benefit from studying Torah. The second commandment can also be interpreted as, "Do not make yourself a human statue. Do not presume to think of yourself as God either." After seeing this other interpretation, I realized that Rabbi's entire class has been centered around the second commandment. Early on in the year, Rabbi allowed us to choose topics for discussion and catered the class towards our wants and needs. Based on our input, he introduced real, relevant, and important issues for us to discuss. However, he made sure to start the unit with a lesson on machloket l'shem shamayim, meaning disagreements for the sake of heaven or constructive conflict. Through every discussion or debate, I have built upon this idea. Being open-minded and accepting of others' opinions is much easier said than done, especially being such a stubborn person. But the more I heard the differing opinions of the class, the more I tried to allow myself to have constructive discussions. Being open-minded and willing to revise my own positions is a lesson that I can carry with me for the rest of my life, as it applies to all human interactions. This has been a humbling experience. As the second commandment teaches us not to think of ourselves as God, I do not presume that I am right in our discussions, but rather learn to listen and debate for the sake of growth. This Jewish value is one I will keep with me, and I know it will serve me well.
So now we welcome Shavuot, our Chag evening with Ryan's family, with Nicole, Adam, and Scott, as we light our Shabbat candles. Nicole, of course, is a member of our board.
Oh, hear our prayer, we sing to you. Be gracious to the ones we love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear our prayer to you. Let us light these lights and sing a prayer to you, and let us say amen. Let us light these lights and sing way to you, and let us say Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov.
And on a Yom Tov, we also say, let's do this all together. Shehechtianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechtianu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu l'zman hazeh.
The third commandment states, "You shall not take the name of Adonai your God in vain." It seems to mean that you will not speak badly about God in any way and only use God's name in a proper and well-mannered sense. Although the Torah says this, there are many other ways you can interpret this. For example, this commandment can go hand in hand with keeping promises. When you make a promise to a friend and say, "I swear to God," signify that you keep your word. Promise has great significance in people's lives, and whether or not you keep it is up to you. But by incorporating God's name to it, it shows that you're very serious about it. Throughout the year in Rabbi's class, we've been talking a lot about social issues in our country and how they relate back to Judaism. We talked a lot about anti-Semitism, and some of the examples we used was by people in our own government. An example of the third commandment can be shown when government officials use God as a way to gain supporters and power. Some have used God names for their own personal use of manipulating people into supporting them. God's name shouldn't be used in curse words, but a lot of us do say the slang term OMG, which is used as a way of being shocked. It's not a bad thing to say this, but to some people it can be considered offensive. So you have to monitor your environment. This commandment in Judaism stresses that language is important. It has the power to create and to destroy. The third commandment teaches us to always be mindful of how we are using our language. As my life with Judaism continues, I will do my best to follow this commandment. Ad Shavuot to all.
Please rise. We're on page 394.
Commandment commands us to observe Shabbat and take that day of rest amidst the daily chaos of life. In this time of COVID, it can be hard to find a line between work and rest. Every aspect of our lives is in the same space, and it is challenging to rest while work is sitting around you at all times. This commandment impresses the importance of forming a relationship with God on a day off, comparable to connecting with yourself on a day off from school, work, or whatever responsibility is taking over your life. Various sources provide distraction from bettering your relationship with yourself and the people around you. The concept of Shabbat is to take a break from distractions and to connect with your surroundings. When there is nothing distracting you, such as your phone, it is much easier to connect with yourself and the people who you are around. Part of Shabbat observance is to not use any technology. And every summer while I was at camp, I did not use my phone or many other forms of technology. Having this absence for a whole summer provokes questions of, do you miss your phone, or how do you make it without your phone? This question is difficult to answer to someone who had never experienced being without it. But the truth is, I never really missed my phone or ever really thought about it much while I was away. This void that is so commonly filled with the presence of our phones was filled with conversation. Relationships with my friends were so much stronger because we knew each other so much better in such a short period of time. This time without technology causes self-reflection and builds our communication skills immensely. Even when we are together without our phones, we are less inclined to pull them out. Rather, we just talk. The commandment states that this time of rest is to build a relationship with God. In my life, I use this time of rest to build meaningful relationships with my friends and family. This commandment of keeping Shabbat impresses the importance of reflection and rest, to separate from the pressure that the tasks that fill our lives. Taking a step back makes it easier to feel connected to yourself and everyone around you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Sabir. Growing up, the word what was nearly forbidden in my house. From a young age, I was told it was disrespectful to use the word what when you didn't understand or hear what someone was saying. I never really understood it, but to this day, I often still respond with the words, excuse me, or can you say that again? For this evening, I was tasked with writing about the Fifth Commandment and how it pertains to my Jewish life. In case you forgot, the Fifth Commandment teaches us to honor your father and mother. Personally, this commandment is one of the most important to me, and I feel as though it is one I strive to follow. If we take the commandment literally, honoring your father and mother is a very difficult task. The Torah tells us to quite literally revere or fear our parents, while the Talmud tells us to never call our parents by their first name and to always stand in their presence. Now, this might seem a bit extreme and outdated, but I believe it comes down to honor versus respect. Personally, I think honoring your parents is a bit more than respect. To honor your parents means to put them on a pedestal and treat them with the utmost kindness and respect. Although I don't always necessarily put my parents on a pedestal, I try to treat them with respect and kindness as much as I can. Our parents are responsible for creating our lives and setting us up for success later in life. I think the Torah tells us to honor our parents because they are almost stand-ins for God. While it may be difficult to treat our parents like they are God, the least we can do is show them the right amount of respect. If we apply the Fifth Commandment to today's day and age, I believe it goes beyond your parents, but also your elders. While it is not exclusive to the United States, many in our country have stopped listening to and respecting those who are older and wiser than them. Especially with COVID-19, many have disregarded the studies, research, and vaccines that have come along over these past few months. If we take public health seriously, we are honoring our elders. Striving to honor our elders is akin to striving to honor God. I hope that I can live my life with this idea.
Page 400. So those people are close.
shall teach them diligently unto your children. Speak of them when singing songs, when you ride the
Thou shalt not murder is the sixth commandment. Citizens not killing one another is a cornerstone of any civilized society. This commandment also relates to current events that I feel very passionate about. First, police brutality is a very relevant issue in the United States. Those who are supposed to uphold the law sometimes break this commandment. Tragically, a police officer in Minneapolis murdered George Floyd, breaking this commandment. Killing for no reason is wrong for anyone, but it seems even worse when it is committed by those who are supposed to protect us. The killing of Black people by the police must stop. This was not a case of self-defense. The Black Lives Matter protests that took place in cities across the nation following the murder of George Floyd were essentially appeals to the police for them to follow the Sixth Commandment, thou shalt not murder. Another issue that I am passionate about is the environment. This directly relates to the commandment to not kill because the environmental crisis leads to natural disasters which kill 60,000 people per year. The destruction of the earth leads to tragic outcomes such as hurricanes, flooding, and forest fires that are bad enough on their own, but are even worse because of this toll on human life. Wildfires, melting ice, polluted waters, and so much more is plaguing our earth right now, leading to destruction and death. Ignoring it kills thousands of people, making climate change an essential issue. Some people are more concerned about protesters and damaging of property than they are about human life, which is very wrong. An important way to uphold the commandment, thou shalt not kill, is to work for a cause that aims to protect people and their lives. This year, I have chosen to become involved in social justice and fighting racism. I am currently in the Religious Action Center Teen Fellowship Program, which addresses racism and teaches us ways we can take action. For this program, I am conducting a project that will be fighting racism. I decided that the most solid way for me to combat racism is through a voter registration outreach project. I am working with ATNJ, Action Together New Jersey, a nonpartisan grassroots organization that increases voter registration for all people. They are training me so that I can go to different locations to do voter registration outreach, handing out forms and showing people how to register. I will be doing this project throughout the rest of the spring and into the summer, in a socially distanced manner, of course. The more people who vote, the better it will be ultimately in terms of representation. With more people voting, the greater the chance of passing laws and protections for everyone, including minorities, and will hopefully result in the passing of legislation with protections against social injustices such as police brutality. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is one such example that is underway right now. There are different ways to approach thou shalt not kill, beyond simply abstaining from violence and killing. We can all speak out, whether on social justice, environmental, or other important issues, and can take action to protect lives and make the world a safer place for everyone.
Page 406.
The melody is special to the Shavuot.
Today I was told to talk about how stealing relates to my life. You might think this is an easy subject to write about, but there are many ways to look at stealing. Many people just see stealing as taking something tangible without permission. But stealing could mean many other things, like taking someone's joy from them, or telling them a lie and stealing the true information from someone. The list goes on. Having given a lot of thought, the greatest theft I've experienced was not a tangible thing, but the same thing that was stolen from all of you. Over a year from all of our lives, and that thing that stole it was COVID. COVID stole more than a year from all of our lives, and who knows how much longer it will be. What has been stolen from me? My freshman season of baseball, hanging out with my friends, going to parties, seeing and hugging my grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles, not going on my family's annual ski trip for New Year's. My family wasn't able to throw our holiday party, Thanksgiving, Rosh Hashanah, just to name a few holidays that weren't the same this year. Ski club. My parents taught me at a really young age that stealing was wrong. However, COVID has given me a new perspective on the 8th commandment, you shall not steal. Having important things in my life being stolen from me has taught me about gratitude. I hope that this year will help me be satisfied with the privileged life that I live. Thank you.
Page 409.
Let there be love and understanding around us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from the storm. Let there be love
more than ever right now. Baruch atah Adonai, haporesu kat shalom aleinu, Yalko amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
The Ten Commandments consist of traditional rules within the Jewish community that are used to help guide people within their own lives. Although many of these rules can seem to not be connected to our own lives today, they can still apply and help to make good choices. For example, the Ninth Commandment says, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." This commandment, at first glance, sounds like it's talking about telling the truth in court or formal proceedings, but this is only partially correct. Although it does talk about honesty in court, it also applies to life. This commandment confirms that telling the truth is very important, whether you're under oath or not, and that we should not lie. People feel quite proud that they do not lie in a traditional sense, but lying can take many other forms. Other forms of lying that we may not even realize we're doing may be gossiping, spreading rumors, or exaggeration. These are things that are a part of society, and especially a big part of high school. At a young age, we're taught that lying is wrong, and it can get someone into a lot of trouble. Usually, that may be enough to deter little kids from lying, but as we get older, that becomes harder. Sometimes fitting in like that is all that is important for people, and they will do almost anything to fit in, including lying about themselves or other people. These kinds of things can hurt people's feelings, and it is important to be reminded about ourselves and about how we would feel in that situation. Being a teenager in 2021 can be difficult because fake news is not limited to the national media, and it happens on a small scale every single day. False stories are very prevalent, and spreading rumors through social media is very, very easy. Something that needs to be remembered is that if we're not okay with saying something to another person's face, we definitely should not put it anywhere on social media. I've always believed that lying is wrong and should be avoided, but the Ninth Commandment has always been a difficult one for people to accept in full. Because people often struggle with whether it is okay to lie or even a good thing. Sometimes it can seem like lying can help people avoid being hurt or keep a secret that maybe would benefit someone else hearing. But is that morally right? Sparing the feelings of other people may seem like the right thing to do, but it can also mean lying to someone, and it's hard to tell which one works. But once you accept that lying is okay, where do you draw the line? Choosing between lying and the truth is very difficult, yet every day we make hundreds of choices, and choosing not to lie is a part of that. So we can decide that lying to spare someone else is okay, maybe to make them feel more confident or waiting for a better moment for the truth. But lying for your own self-gain should not be okay either. The line when it comes to lying is not clear, but it is rare to think of a situation where a person finds out that they've been lied to and does not feel lost or betrayed, no matter the motive or justification. Lying should not only be something that we feel obligated to avoid or something we have just been told not to do. It cannot just come from an external rule. What really keeps us from lying is our own conscience. One of the most significant ways that lying can affect our daily lives is choosing to lie to ourselves. That can be destructive to ourselves and those around us. So as we think about the Ninth Commandment and the duty to not bear false witness, we must internalize that obligation in being honest with ourselves in order to be honest and a trustworthy member of our community.
The 10th commandment reads, "Thou shalt not covet," which basically means to not desire. In the commandment, God covers specific desires, like somebody's house, wife, servants, ox, or donkey. Although some of these examples have lost their real-world applicability, the overall message is still relevant. This commandment raises a new question, which is, do we have control over our own thoughts? If someone is jealous, are they really to blame? Rabbi Hochberg, a licensed psychotherapist, tackles this problem exactly. He says that the answer lies in understanding the difference between having a thought and responding to the thought. This means that although we are not in direct control over the thoughts that pop into our heads, including jealousy and desire, our ability to respond to these thoughts is in our control, which is where the commandment really takes place. Personally, this commandment means a lot to me because of my own interpretation of it, which is to work hard. When I feel jealousy, I try to utilize the jealousy to push me to work harder, which is important to me because I pride myself in being a hard worker and believe that hard work is essential to success. This goes hand in hand with the idea that the commandment does not judge our thoughts, but rather our actions that correspond with our thoughts. Because to me, I feel commanded to work harder when there is jealousy involved.
We rise to the page 468, where we take a moment for the Amidah. We're praying privately the traditional words on the even number pages, the interpretations on God pages, until page 492. We come now to read we wrote the 10 Commandments that our confirmand spoke about. Actually, they only spoke about 8 of them because there's only 8 of them. They skipped the adultery part. And the first one, which is the preamble that Adonai is our God who led us out of the land of Egypt to be our God. And so at every festival, at every Shabbat, we keep this in mind. So let us all rise as we bring the Torah in our midst. And it's a tradition to to stay standing during the 10 Commandments. And we're all going to invoke God's blessing before the reading as our kids.
Well, the kids will do the Aliyah.
Oh, their kids are doing. Okay, good.
All of you are doing the Aliyah, and the 5 of you are chanting. There's no idea.
ברוך אדוני בורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קבענו מכל העמים אמרנו את תורתו ברוך אתה אדוני אמן.
Anohi Adonai Elohecha Asher Hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim lo tiyeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai lo ta'aseh lecha chesed vehu pnai Asher b'shamayim ממעל, ואשר בארץ מתחת, ואשר במים מתחת לארץ.
לא תשתחווה בהם ולא תאבן, כי אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך אלקנה פוקד עוון אבות אבינים השילושים והרבעים לשווא ועושה חסד לאלפים להווי ולא שומרי מצוותי לא תישא את שם אדוני אלוהיך Lasha. Ki lo yinake Adonai et asher yisa et shemo lasha.
Zachor et Yom HaShabbat Ekadesho Sheshet Yamim Ta'avot Vasita Kol Mechtecha Yom HaShavi'i Shabbat L'Adonai Elohecha V'tasek Ol Meham V'tah Umilecha Uviteha Alteha Banateha Uventecha Eleha Asher Yisharecha.
Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz et hayam ve'et kol asher ba vayana vayom hashvi'i al bara Adonai et Yom HaShabbat vayikadshehu. Kabed et avia ve'et imecha leman ya'aru yamecha al Adonai asher Adonai Elohecha noten la.
Lo tirsa, lo tina, lo tina, lo ta'amed, berha, shaker, lo ta'amed, be'echa, lo ta'amed, esher echa, be'adom, be'amon, to, b'sharom, be'amro, be'chol,
אשר לרעך.
Eloheinu melech
אשר
Banu Torah Temed V'chaye Olam Natav Eloheinu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
We're gonna read it in English?
They gotta go again.
They gotta go over there.
Look up your English.
I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods beside me. You shall not make for yourself an image or any likeness of what is in the heaven above, or in the earth below, or in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, Adonai your God, am an compassionate God, visiting the guilt of the fathers upon the children, upon the third and upon the fourth generations of those who reject me, but showing kindness to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not swear falsely by the name of Adonai your God, for the Eternal will not favor one who swears falsely by the divine name. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Eternal your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or daughter, your male or female servant, or your cattle, or the stranger who lives in your settlement. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth and sea, and all that is in them, and God rested on the seventh day. Therefore Adonai blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Honor your father and mother, that you may live and adorn the land which Adonai your God is giving you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife or his own. You know that on you or anything that is in you.
Please stand. Stay standing. Please be seated.
Chag Sameach. My favorite biblical figure happens to be Joseph. Why? He did what so few of us are able to do, or we can never achieve, or many of us can. That's changing who we are or how we present ourselves. I'll go over the story as briefly as I can. It's a long story, but I think it's important. Joseph is the child of his father's favorite wife, who gives him a specially colored coat. Okay, we know all about this. A sign of his affection is like setting the plot for sibling rivalry, okay? Just give one child a Gucci coat and the other one nothing, and you know what will happen from there. Joseph also flaunts this coat. He makes sure that, especially in front of the other brothers who are born from the other wife. And then he goes and does something for a young person that you say, wow, he interprets dreams. He's got a little bit of chutzpah. He portrays himself in a way that he's ruling over his brothers. They have to bow down to him. And even in one dream, even his parents are bowing down. It's quite an ego that this Joseph has. And if you remember the story, the brothers throw him into a pit. They sell him to traders. He winds up in Egypt. He becomes one of Pharaoh's ministers and winds up a real big shot. There is no stopping this guy at all. He has charisma, and he's, again, even when he's in jail, interpreting dreams, and this time he winds up interpreting for Pharaoh. He's the viceroy. This is really climbing the ladder. Joseph is really climbing the ladder until the time that his brothers come down, and they have to beg for food. I don't know if the word beg is correct, but they have to get food during a famine. This is really kind of a turning point. So Joseph devises this plot to make sure that his brothers, that he has an understanding of his brother's determination to kind of save the youngest brothers. And we're at the edge of our seats, and the story goes on, and it's like a Netflix drama. And then something happens at the end that I find amazing. There is a reunion, and this Joseph, the same person, becomes very genuine, very humble, very loving, very forgiving. And it's not like the Joseph that we saw before at all. This brash, boisterous, self-centered person melds into a caring, concerned person who does so much good for his family. This confirmation class has some parallels to the Joseph story. I can really recall clearly grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, and then Rabbi came thankfully for grade 10. They too, they know this. I'm not telling you anything that nobody knows. They were loud, they had hubris, they were filled with bravado, they were spirited, they were freewheeling, and that's just the boys, okay? I remember telling them, and this more than one of them, I remember telling them, we're gonna wait you out. We're just gonna wait you out. And we did, and we are thankful for that. That decision was really important. And all our parents here helped out with that. They are bright, they are articulate, they are involved, thoughtful, genuine. And they are more interested in the thou shalt aspects of our faith than the thou shalt not. That's more important to them. They truly enjoy being here, just watching. They love being with one another. They are now becoming role models for others. It's a staggering turnaround. It's a success story. And here they are this evening receiving Torah, reading Torah, speaking Torah as they did during the 10 Commandments. We know that in the next few years with these students, it will prove to be extraordinarily meaningful. They will give purpose to their Jewish lives and our Jewish lives. Their goal is our goals, which is to bring a deeper connection to Judaism, to its spiritual meanings, and to its values. We will together achieve all of this. They have done the hard work. They really did do the hard work already. Now comes the fruit of all the labors that were put into this. I want to thank the parents as always, because I know that if it weren't for moms and dads, we wouldn't come to this day right now. It is never done without your support. And finally, to the students themselves, we are truly proud of each and every one of you. It is a Shekayona moment. With you, we have built a Jewish bond that will continue to grow in the coming years, and we are truly looking forward to it. Mazel tov and Chag Sameach. We want to give a gift and a certificate of Rabbi and Cantor will help out with it. I'm going to call them up one at a time. Brian Berman.
Give him the elbow. Or give me the elbow. And take the look.
Benjamin Chaplin. Jack Cohen. Samantha Gallup. Ricardo Melvin. Natalie Rosenthal. Benjamin Severi. Olivia Siegel. If everything goes well, by the time we get to ribbon graduation, they'll be hugging. It's okay. Mazel tov to all.
So friends, please rise. As I said, as we were starting the service, it was an honor to learn with you during this year. Soon, things will be more normal. We'll go on trips together. We will continue to learn with each other. And the cantor and I want to give you these words or invoke God's blessing with these ancient words, these words of love. May the Eternal One bless you and protect you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Eternal One's presence always be with you, and may God bless you with shalom, with peace. And we all say, Amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov. So we begin to conclude our service. That the cantor is not the cantor has to go and help with the rest of the evening because tonight there's a concert coming up online. There's learning throughout the night, and you can join us. Please join us tomorrow morning as we continue with Shavuot. But let's continue with our service. We turn to page 586 and rise. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת קבל יוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמענו את משפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחומונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. I'm on page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Love, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech. May we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'ne'emar haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, vayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. If you're on Zoom or YouTube, you can, if you're remembering someone tonight, please put their names in the chat and say their names out loud. And if we're thinking of someone tonight, please feel free to say their names. May their memories be for blessing. The mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ya'amad Yivrach Yutei, Yamlich Malchutei, V'chayachon Yomachon, U'chayed L'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'adalau B'zman Kariv B'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Ve'alam Amei Amayan. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitromam, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yitalev, Yithalal, Shemei Kedusha, Richu. Ela, Mikol Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbachata, V'nachmata, Damiran, Be'alma, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shama, Rabbah, Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, B'imromah, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Yal Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You're going to have to bear with my chanting tonight, right now, and not the chanters. My attempt at the festival chanting for the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagaf. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacharanu mikol am v'romamanu mikol lashon v'kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava v'odim l'simcha v'odim uzmanim l'sason et yom hag hashavuot hazeh zman matan toratenu mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kibanu b'charta yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim modim moadeh kodshecha v'simcha v'chon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והחיינו בזמן הזה. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Chag Sameach. Mazel tov. And please stay and schmooze and eat some more.
So you only have two choices. You can sit and eat it here, or you have to take the platter home with you. It doesn't stay. So that's it.
Mazel tov to our confirmands. It was truly my pleasure and honor to study with them.